Hi, this is John Stoddard. I've got a special guest today is Rob Mattacchione. He is the chairman and CEO of Novo Integrated Sciences. It currently trades on the OTC market under NVOS. Rob, welcome to the show.
Pleasure being here, John. I appreciate the time and look forward to the opportunity to discuss the relevant points.
Rob, let's really start off. I know you're raising capital right now, and how much are you trying to raise for?
Our objective through this course of fundraising is roughly about $30 million. We have allocated significant growth over the next 12 months, and that capital will come in handy with respects to those growth opportunities into new markets for us as a company, but moreover into the development of a lot of the technology that we're speaking to and what we anchor our entire business around.
I looked under the Edgar filings. You filed a Reg A, but you're trying to go to S3. What was the change and why did you do that?
Initially, when we filed the Reg A and we went that route, we weren't aware of the strength of the company. And what I mean by that is the financial strength and the strength that the markets would grant us with respects to going about the NASDAQ route in a traditional, organic, and a natural methodology without an underwriting. So the intention was take advantage of the Reg A and the opportunity to expose ourselves to the general public. But once we saw that through some of our merchant partners in New York and abroad, we saw that we had the opportunity to actually submit for an application to NASDAQ and get accepted without an underwriting. We literally shifted our focus away from the conventional Reg A and into the S3.
Trying to raise $30 million on the OTC markets, that's going to be a very difficult task. I think you're well suited to go to NASDAQ.
Yeah, we're associated strongly with a group called Maxim.
Yeah.
So once we do get our presence on NASDAQ, which we expect shortly, they'll take the reins with respects to the primary lead on investment. We're looking to do what's called a mini shelf, somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 million with them right off the bat, and then fill the gap to the 30 million with other more directed opportunities from both institutional and significant private individuals.
The trends in this area are for your solution, which is telehealth, telemedicine, e-health. There's a 3x in patient volume as far as people wanting to talk about this subject. There's 1 billion in virtual healthcare interactions and 200 million in funding has directed towards these types of companies. Is this the trend you're following right here?
Yeah, John, I think there's where we show ourselves to be a little bit unique is we've gone one step even beyond what you've described as the virtual telemedicine platform, in that we want to marry what we call the interpreter or the translator to that environment. The typical issues around the virtual platform of healthcare is the communication between the patient and the practitioner on the other side, and what happens in between in terms of understanding and what's lost in translation, so to speak. So we want to introduce a clinician of some sort to create a proper interface so that communication is seamless, it's effective and efficient. Because what we've really found is, as much as virtual medicine is an enormous solution with respects to reaching a broader population, you still have to address the core issues where money gets spent, and that's in evaluating the individual and creating a diagnosis so that you can then develop a treatment. If you still have to, let's assume for a second, continue to take 3, 4, 5 stabs at that through a virtual process, you are saving because you're saving the issue of time, but you're still spending the dollars with respect to the professional on the other side that's trying to figure out what's wrong with the patient. So it's important that we reduce that, we create effectiveness and efficiency even in that model. And that's really what we're about. Further to that, we want to make sure that the patients themselves understand the importance of every party to the healthcare system, themselves especially. We do things as a general population that really look after everything that we have, cars, toys, all the things that we engage in use, but we sometimes lack the foresight to take care of ourselves. And as patients, our obligation has to be to understand that part of it. And using these interfaces, making it clear what we're feeling and what we're trying to articulate to the practitioners is of paramount importance. But we have to engage, and we have to engage that population on the patient side, and we equally have to engage the practitioners to appreciate that this technology is accurate, that technology is something we absolutely need to ensure that we can reach a broader population. In the end, if we do have a social conscience, which I think as the human species we do, our goal should be that every single person on the planet has access to some form of primary.
$200 million flown into technology companies, and many of those companies already have relationships with the bigger hospitals, the physical locations. You already have a part of your company is a physical location, right?
Oh, absolutely. We carry service through about 150 clinics. And moreover, we want to engage those clinics in that virtual vehicle so that our technology that allows for the virtual visits to occur can be sophisticated above what is conventional. Nowadays, we think of virtual medicine as a doctor on one side, a patient on the other, a dialogue occurs, and there's an attempt at understanding what's wrong. We implement peripherals and peripherals that give us more accuracy, that allow the doctor to make a more conscious effort towards diagnosis, one that is more traditional in the sense that what you would find in his office or her office. And we bring that through the virtual piece, because it's not enough to just look at you and try to understand. The beauty of being live is that I can touch, I can feel, I can, regulate, I can see. And these are important elements. A doctor engages in all of their senses to come up with what is wrong with you.
In the United States, when you have some type of illness, you go to a primary care and then you get referred to a specialist. Are you have a discipline or a niche that you're going for?
Well, it's interesting that you say that. The beauty of virtual care is that you can begin with your GP, your general practitioner, that creates that determination, and then you can pass it on to a specialist. But that specialist can engage in that virtual exercise as well, because keep in mind, very, very rarely do you enter a doctor's office of any kind, whether it's a specialist or a GP, and walk out with a single solution. You typically have to run for another test, another visit. There's something else that occurs. So if that first visit can be done virtually, especially that first visit, even with a specialist, it mitigates a ton of time and creates a lot more efficiency with respects to what we're getting for our dollar in the healthcare system.
And how big is this market for you?
It's monstrous. It's said that there's in Canada, I can tell you there's 100,000 doctors that exist in Canada. There's 1 million doctors that exist in license and practice in the US. They say that's not enough to service the population that requires care. I would challenge everyone to say that you could get away with probably 50% of that number and service the general population in non-catastrophic care right across the board. And we're talking about an entire population. From 80% of all the dollars are spent in non-catastrophic care. In other words, dealing with, colds and flus and fevers and these types of things. It's 80% of the cost. It's 80% of the healthcare effort. No one in the right mind is suggesting that everything gets taken over by technology. You do have that catastrophic care that's required, that hospitals are needed, where the brainchild of medicine is really held for those more complex cases. But if we can take care of that first phase of medicine, and we can do it through technology, we have to.
So that brings the question, there's no way you can graduate enough doctors to attend to everybody in the United States. So are you suggesting that there's a mixture of nurse practitioner, physician assistants, and artificial intelligence to bring?
Exactly that. We call it upskilling. When you can have, and I'm not going to, can have a lower level healthcare practitioner or healthcare provider participate in a higher level exercise because of technology, you have to take advantage of that. And that's really what technology affords us the opportunity to do. It's been said, and there's cases in Europe right now where nurses are conducting surgery through robotics. I mean, that's unheard of here. And yet they're embracing the fact that the robots that can engage in that exercise really need the guidance of someone who understands the human body. And that's what these nurses provide. Between Canada and the US, we rank 24th and 25th roughly in terms of ratio of doctors to population. But there's countries that, I can tell you specifically, I've been working closely with a group in Bangladesh. They have 170 million people and their ratio is near the very bottom. That's really what we have to do. We have to find a solution that works here. And when it works here, it works everywhere.
I like where you're going with this, but that's all the time we have today. I want to thank you, Rob Mattacchione, CEO of Novo Integrated Science. We look forward to having you on again.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it.